Hello and welcome back to the Pocket Network Podcast, a podcast for real estate professionals like you to innovate your world. I'm your host, Margarita Petrosian, and this week I'm sitting here with Ricky Carruth. Welcome to the podcast.
It's such what's up?
You?
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I know doing just busy. Fine. Yeah, I've been a little sick too.
Oh no.
But no, yeah, it's been really busy and a lot of fun. So I like busy.
Yeah, your Instagram itself seems like an overtime job itself. You have such great content that you're putting out regularly. And it's almost like a free mini real estate crash course. I feel like I've learned so much through just your Instagram. So I can't imagine what exactly you provide as a coach to all of your real estate agents that you take care of.
Yeah. Well, and that's the cool thing, I don't charge anything for any of my courses or coaching or anything like that. So I can kind of make every platform kind of its own little coaching, course, if you will, because I don't really have to hold anything back. I can just share everything I have. So that's the cool thing about what I do is I can just share everything on every channel and, people can get, whatever amount of value they get. And I don't have to worry about, this person's paying, so I don't want them to know this because, this, that, and the other. And just share everything with everybody. So
that's an incredible business model. And a lot of people are the exact opposite. Even people that I've spoken to that I've invited on the podcast, they've said, sounds great, but I'd rather not because I don't want to reveal the secrets of the trade.
Well, and see, there's the problem right there. And that was a big reason why I went free is because I didn't want to have to hold my tongue. It just doesn't feel natural to me, to hold stuff back and, say, oh, well, I wish I could tell you, but you got to pay me. That's just not it. That's not who I am, And so when I find myself being someone who I'm not, then I normally, go the other direction. So I started out charging people for coaching, and I tried a lot of different things. And at the end of the day, it wasn't me, But I
have to say, the reason I believe you've been able to pull that off is because you have that huge success to back you up. So it's not like someone else who might not have been as successful or like they're successful, but maybe in their area. You have a very impressive career. You are, I believe, closing 100 or more deals just by yourself. Is that correct?
Yeah. Long story short, I did start selling 100 properties a year as a single agent. I did that for 8 years in a row. And so I did about 1,000 deals total over the course of my career. And, everything I learned through the last massive shift in the late 2000s is what kind of put me on notice and, where I learned everything I needed to really build my business. And then, just applied it, mixed with work ethic and, built this massive business. And then at that point I was like, I'm kind of bored, because I felt like I'd conquered that mountain and it was time to do something else. And that's when I wrote a couple books and started speaking and writing and coaching. And, now my passion is, creating content and helping agents and traveling and speaking and writing and, brainstorming ideas and thinking about the future and where the market's going and paying attention to all the stuff I used to never pay attention to. I used to never pay attention to national stats and prices and interest rates and, what brokerages are doing and stuff like that. But now very much, in the middle of all those breaking news moments and stats and stuff like that. And, I've come to really enjoy this side of it. You know what I mean?
So do you think that paying attention to those national stats would help you if you were still selling as an agent, or is that just something you're doing to teach others?
That's just something I'm doing for myself to really keep up with what's happening. I stepped out of production earlier this year. And so I still have a toe in as I'm still doing marketing. I'm still consulting, our team is still closing deals. So I'm still in it, but not talking to the buyers and sellers. So I don't have the finger on the pulse that I used to have, as far as looking in MLS every day and studying and stuff like that in my local market. And so, through really keeping up with, everything on a national level, knowing that every market is super local, it just helps me from where I am because I deal with agents all over the country and all over the world. And so I really need to understand, what's going on in the market outside of my local market. So that's why I do it now. If I were still in sales and everything, I mean, I don't, it's good to know if you're the kind of person who wants to know that kind of stuff. But, I think 90% of your efforts of, studying the market should be just focused on your local market. That's what every market is so local. Every market is so different, market to market. I mean, right now, like, for example, you've got, 23% less transactions in the country overall. Well, certain markets could have 50% less transactions and some have 5% less transactions. It's really kind of all over the place. That's more of an average. So you take it with a grain of salt, but you use it, and it's cool too, because some markets will be behind others, like, for example, when the country started getting multiple offers back, even before the pandemic, there were a lot of markets that were getting more than full price offers. Denver was one of them. And here in my market, we were getting nothing. I mean, we were selling properties, but there was no like massive swing. And then I realized it was hitting different areas. And then our area was one of the last that was actually hit with that wave. But it's cool to kind of see what's happening in other markets, because you can kind of almost predict what's going to come up in other markets based on kind of where this market was and where this market's headed, And
I think it's important for agents to really hear that, understand that, because just because you're hearing on the news that there's a drop in sales doesn't mean that that's going to affect your business directly if you are in an area that hasn't seen a larger drop.
Well, I think that all areas have seen somewhat of a drop at this point. And I think that, with rates hitting 7%, that every single market, since that is a controlled by, that's a national number, I think that all markets are probably experiencing a really almost just a complete roadblock. I mean, the market will never completely stop. So we still have some deals going on. We closed a deal today. We're showing some property. We're negotiating some deals, but it's not like it was. And our listings are basically getting 0 showings. I mean, it's just basically rock bottom. It's like the market finally hit that point with 7% that buyers are like, that was it for us. Like, we could handle 5.5, but 7 is just, that makes the monthly payment just, undoable. And so that's what's very interesting right now. We're basically at this standstill between buyers and sellers, and who's going to win? Well, the buyers are going to win because, they don't have to buy. The sellers, some of them don't have to sell and they'll just go away. But the ones who have to sell, they're going to come down. And all it takes is one sale in a neighborhood to affect the appraised value for all the other houses in that neighborhood. And now that's that new price. Let's say it was going for $450 and then, somebody sells for $375. Well, $375 is going to be that new price. Nobody's going to pay more than $375. And, the seller might want $400. And if he has a nice property, maybe he gets somebody to pay it. But apples to apples, that property is just going to sit there and until they come down and next month it's going to be lower. We're fixing to see some massive price drops now. And there's so many buyers on the sideline that's been waiting for prices to come down that are going to come out of the woodworks and flock to these deals. And, I think we'll start seeing multiple offers on those, when we see some prices drop. But then it's not just going to be a snowball that keeps going. It's going to level out pretty quickly because, again, there's so little inventory and there's so much demand. And not
people agree to pay that incredible interest rate. They'll just wait it out.
They're going to pay it because prices are going to be lower. Prices are going to compensate for the interest rate. And you'll have some people that continue to wait, but it's going to open up a lot of buyers when we see prices come down another 10% or so. It's going to open up a lot of buyers. And, we're going to see that flood happen, I think, before the end of the year, where, we're going to see a nice little pop And then interest rates may go up even more, and so we'll have to adjust a little more for that. But as we go up in interest rates and prices come down to adjust, sooner or later, interest rates are going to come back down, and then you're going to have a double whammy to the other side, lower interest rates and lower prices. You know what I mean? And that's when things are, that's just going to keep it going. Like we're going to, like as agents, we're going to be super busy really from now till the end of the year. Honestly, I think things are, within the next, say, a couple of weeks, we're going to see some prices move and we're going to see some movement. And, November, December, I think we're going to be pretty decently busy, honestly, just because prices. And then January is a normal January, might be a little slow, but prices are going to be coming down. February, we're going to be at a lower price point.
So you don't think that people need to necessarily make drastic changes in their business, that things will keep going, obviously not the way they used to, but that people will continue having business?
Yeah, like you never change, you never drastically change what you're doing. You're always continuing to push forward to talk to more people, add 5 new people to your database every day, do your weekly email, do your social media, do all your stuff. What else can you do? That's all you can do.
Sorry, continue.
Go ahead.
You had said on your Instagram that the way you're adjusting is by doubling down on content. So how do you think that an agent who's actively still producing should take that? Should they be also doubling down on content, or is that something for an educator?
I think everyone should. I think every single person should. You should make calls all morning and create content all afternoon. And engage on content, engage on other people's content, and to really make it work. But not everybody is a content creator. Not everybody is wanting to do videos and stuff. That's fine. Not everybody wants to make calls. Some people just want to make videos. Some people want to make calls all day. It doesn't matter what you do. You got to figure out what those strengths are and then, go all in on whatever they are. So I don't really say, oh, well, everybody needs to be making video. I think in a perfect world, everyone makes calls all morning and creates content all evening. That's in a perfect world, but we don't live in a perfect world. Not everybody's comfortable making videos. Even if you make the videos that you're not even in, it's just of the property and stuff. There's a skill to all that stuff, and not everybody has those tools in their tool belt. But the people who want to work on it and practice and make content and get better, then, those are the people that are going to, end up creating decent content and better content and end up getting traction in their business. I think all that in the beginning is to complement what you're doing with the phone calls and the emails and the door knockings and all that. In the beginning, I think it's more of a complement to that stuff. But then long term, I think we see where people actually build massive businesses on the back of, video and social media content, So
for you personally, you're so busy, but you still manage to answer all your Instagram DMs and you answer them personally. So
yeah.
How do you schedule that into your day? And also, if you can answer this, why do you prioritize that? Is there a way to quantify how successful that is versus outsourcing?
Well, it's definitely more successful than outsourcing because these are very delicate questions and messages that I get. There's no way. I mean, I could outsource it where somebody could do decent, but for me to really impact the people the way they need to be impacted, it's really hard to outsource that. Okay. So that's
a part of your coaching.
What's that?
You treat that as a part of your coaching.
Yeah, exactly. It's people reaching out with, stuff that they need with questions with their real estate business and stuff and their life and schedule. And I mean, you wouldn't believe the stuff I get. And, I just work through that. It's very time consuming and I hadn't figured out why I do it either, honestly, but I do still do it. And I'm building relationships there, I mean, I've got so many relationships built within, those messages, and when I go do an event in Canada or, LA or Miami or whatever, 1,000 people will show up and all of them, I can look all of them in the eye and say, I answered every single message that you sent me, and honestly, most of them are there because I answered their messages, and they know I'm a real person, versus if I never answered, or if they got some kind of just weird response from somebody I outsourced it to, you know what I mean? So it really means something. I feel like that part of this whole deal, and answering all the comments and putting in the work to build the content and all that stuff, is just the trenches right now for me, because my thing is building billion-dollar companies, over the next couple decades. And, it's wild how much money I'm spending, investing into my brand. I don't even have a product to sell. You know what I'm saying? Right now, I don't have anything to sell anyone. It's nuts.
So for building a brand, I think you touched on something really important. So for you, it's a little bit different as a coach. But do you feel like the people that you're coaching kind of they piggyback off your brand, or do you also help them develop their own personal brand to present and to create their own business separate from yourself?
Whatever they want to do, it just kind of depends on what exactly the goal is, and what they're trying to accomplish, how much work they're willing to put into it, and what their vision is. Everybody's different. So I'm happy to give any of them any opportunity that they want, that they're willing to work for, So it's cool because I've got the platform that I can literally help other people, get their brand started. But I'm not going to be taken advantage of on that with people who aren't willing to put the work in. It's like, you got to show me that you're putting the work in first, and stuff like that. So I get a lot of messages about that, but, I can give people everything that I know, just like on the real estate side. I tell people everything I know on building your brand and working social media and, building a community and stuff. It's a lot of hard work, it's every single day, and it never stops, and if you're not willing to put that in, then what are we doing here? This is year number 6 of me creating content and building this, and it's really kind of just now getting really fun, because I'm starting to understand the algorithm a little more. I'm starting to get celebrities following me and different things like that. Getting asked to speak at huge events, not just these little ones and stuff. So, but man, look at how much effort I put in though over the last 6 years. People just, it's like 100 deals a year. They see 100 deals a year, and they're like, oh, but they don't really want to sit down and think about 12 years it took me to get there. Of pounding the phones, and 12 years, of just really grinding. Same thing here, I'm doing some really cool things, and I can't wait to see what happens over the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years with what I'm doing on social. But look at what I went through. Like, I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of videos, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
I've heard of a lot of people talk about giving value to people, and that's how you build relationships. That's how you get their business. But I don't think anyone has really put that into play the way you have, with just finding out that everything that you're putting out there is completely free. That kind of blows my mind, because I know a ton of people would pay good money to hear you speak, or to get your attention one-on-one for just 30 minutes. So the fact that you're doing this for free, it blows my mind. I don't know, like, why did you think to do that?
Well, it hit me all at once. As I was charging for coaching, I realized that most people weren't paying, and they were just going elsewhere. And I felt like I was losing those people. Right. And so I was like, man, how do I retain everyone? Instead of just 1% who are willing to pay me something, and so that's when I decided to go free, because I thought, if I'm free, then everybody comes in, not just the 1%. Everybody comes in the door, and then everybody gets to know who I am. They get to know all the strategies. They get to realize how powerful this is. And then I've actually got, then they have this massive amount of respect for me because I'm doing this for no money and it's like serious value and it's helping thousands of agents. So I just kind of visualized the whole thing. I was like, if I cut this off and start doing this for free, then everything will explode. And then what? Well, and then I'll build massive businesses later, and that was my thought, is just later.
Long-term strategy. That's genius. But
we,
still, not many people could have done that. That's because that's so much work. And I'm assuming you started this while still producing. People producing 100 sales every single year on their own. I can't imagine they even have time to sleep.
So I was working only 5 hours a week selling those 100 properties because it was all referral based at that point. And I was just basically just negotiating deals and letting my assistant handle everything on the back end and spending all my time coaching. So I was losing $100,000 a year for a couple years coaching, basically neglecting my $1 million a year real estate business. So it was tough. But I finally started making a little money, and I continued selling till this year. So I sold for 5 years while building the brand and doing the coaching and all that. So I'm telling you, man, like it's not glamorous. I can tell you right now, like there's nothing glamorous about what I'm doing.
I think anyone that's tried to make Instagram content or TikTok content, they understand to some scale. And then imagine doing what you're doing on that level. I can't imagine. I hate just making content for social media, like small 1-minute clips, because it makes me comfortable. It's really hard to edit. It takes so much time. It's 1 minute, but realistically behind the scenes, it could take an hour each video. So props to you. Do you have a huge team helping you with this, or is this more small scale, doing this internally with just some assistance?
It is. It's just small scale. So I've got a company that edits a lot of stuff for me. And I've worked with a couple different companies, and this one has really ended up being a great relationship. And so they do a lot of stuff for me. And so I'm thankful for that relationship. And so that takes a lot off of me. I'm really trying to, like you said, I've really found a groove with Instagram. Engagement is really incredible and it's increasing. And I'm getting better at it.
It's because your content is good. So I imagine that takes a lot of time. I know a lot of people that I follow personally, they are also putting out a ton of content daily. It's just, I don't feel like I can engage with it because it's repetitive or it's just not quality. So that's the big difference. It's not just because you're putting out regular content. So how do you find these things to continue talking about? How do you find these, basically the questions to answer that people really are looking for?
And just to take a step back, what I did was I quit posting for a couple months to really research and do my due diligence, because I was just posting whatever, whenever, and it got me to where I was, but I have really flatlined over the last year and I really wasn't growing anymore. And I just decided I was going to quit just throwing stuff out there and be more intentional and really treat it like a job. I wasn't treating social media like a job. I was basically just using it to just dump content, and it got me to a certain place, but it's not going to get me where I want to be. And so when I did my research, and then I came back to the drawing board, and that's where you see this new style of content that I'm making on Instagram. And so I literally figured the entire algorithm and everything out. And now, like, I'm picking up 100 followers a day. Engagement is just really incredible. And I actually feel like I'm growing now, as opposed to just standing still, which is where I've been for the past year or so. So that's an incredible feeling that I actually cracked the code.
Yeah.
Now it's a lot of work. Now it's a lot of work to continue to create and produce the content. And that's where the work's going to come in now. But that's Instagram. Now I'm moving over to YouTube. And I've never really had like an identity on YouTube, except for, the cold calling and the few videos I put out where I was giving tips, and then, a bunch of clips of podcasts and stuff like that. But again, that got me where I'm at, but not where I want to be, So the goal is over the next 12 months to hit 1 million subs on YouTube. And so I'm in the middle of right now trying to figure out, like, who am I on YouTube? What is my identity? What style of videos do I want to make? How often do I need to be posting? And stuff like that, So each platform is so different, and you really have to kind of tackle them one at a time. And if you don't treat it like a job and be very intentional about what you're posting and how often you're posting and stuff like that, then you're not going to see the results, So it's super important, to say, okay, because the more time you spend there trying to figure it out and tweak things and learn and look at data, then the better you're going to be. But the more you just post for no reason and just hope for the best, then, the less the results you're going to see.
Yeah, you have to stay consistent with what's doing well on your specific page, what your followers want to see. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming everyone watching, when they see your name, they clicked on it because they want to be you. So question, just going back to the start of your career. When you started off, when you got your real estate license, what was the first thing that Ricky did? What did you prioritize?
Well, I didn't know what to do. So I quit roofing that day and, went in the office for a month, didn't sell anything, and had to go right back to the roof and roofed. I was roofing houses and doing real estate on the side. It took me 8 months to get to my first sale. So, and you got to realize back then there was no social media in 2002. There was no Facebook. There was no Zillow. There was nothing. It was like we had MLS, email, postcards, letters, phone calls, a magazine. That was really it. So it was a different world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If people want to be Ricky, they need to go back and listen to the simplicity of the first thing I said. Make calls all morning, create content all evening, and do a weekly email every week on the same day of the week forever. That's really it. If you're making calls and talking to people and you're giving great first impressions and letting people know how much you care about them and, you're hardworking, honest, dependable, and you just want to help them when the time comes, you get their information, you're doing weekly emails, and you're kind of accumulating those people while you're creating videos and learning social and, building influence. Everybody goes through the same stuff, and it takes several years to really get some momentum in this business. And that's why most people quit. You might sell a couple of properties here or there. You might have a great first year or whatever. And even if you sell 50 properties in your first year, you still have a long way to go to really build the foundation, of your career, of your, 20, 30-year career. So I think the biggest thing is to really think long-term, to absolutely just not care about how many transactions you end up with at the end of the first year or any year ever, right? Everything needs to be focused around learning. I'm still learning. You always need to be in a mode of, learning more and accumulating, people, in your database and followers and everything else. And then you just you watch some of the guys that are really good at social and at email and at phone calls, and you watch these guys and you pick up things. I pick up things all the time from influencers that are way ahead of me, about how to actually lead gen on social and, how to convert and things like that, So it's so interesting to me, I'm like drawn to learning more, about my craft, by guys that are way ahead of me. Same thing with new agents. You just really need to take a look around and say, who are the top producers around here? Let me really watch them and see what they're up to, see what they do, and then take little bits and pieces and kind of create your own little path,
Yeah, if someone like you can continue learning and continue looking at other people to soak in what they know better than you, I think a lot of young people really need to take that advice because I've spoken to a few mentors, real estate coaches, And the big issue they have, they keep dropping clients because they say he comes up to me or she comes up to me and she thinks she's already got it down. Don't know why they're asking for help if they're not willing to take in the information and apply it to their work. So it's all about the ego. And if someone like you, we see the success you've achieved, and if you wanted to, you could just stay where you are at and you can continue being successful. But if you are looking at other people, if you are trying to learn lessons from them and apply it to your own business, I think the rest of us can take that as a lesson.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And I do see it all the time as well. Agents come in and they've listened to a couple podcasts and they think they know everything. And listen, I don't, you can tell me all day long what you're going to do, but until you show me, it doesn't really mean anything. I've heard a lot of people say they're going to do this and do that or whatever. Don't tell me, if you want to, you can tell me, that's fine, but we'll see, we'll see. I found 5% of people actually do what they say with these big aspirations. That they have that winner's mentality that they're going to go out there and make it happen no matter what. And the other 95%, they don't, for whatever reason. So, if you're one of the 5%, then, lucky you, get out there and use those abilities and go crush it. And don't let the other 95% hold you back, telling you that, oh, you can't do that. Well, just because they can't do it because they're not willing to put in the work doesn't mean that you can't do it.
And do you think it's important to have that long-term strategy? It feels like everything that you've done from the beginning, it's been very strategic and you've known what you want the end goal to be. If someone doesn't really know what their end goal is, should they take a step back and figure that out before continuing?
Yeah, I think so. Of course, early in your career, it's like, well, you don't really know because you're just so new and you're just trying to learn how to write a contract. And so I get that. And so the little wins add up, learning MLS, learning how to write a contract, learning how to show a property and stuff like that. But yeah, once you get some momentum, like if you don't know where you really want to be in the next 5 years, what the big goals are, then you don't really know what you need to be doing on a day-to-day basis. You really don't have any direction to go in because you don't really know what you're trying to accomplish. A lot of agents come to me and want me to coach them. I'm like, well, what do you want to happen in the next 5 years? I'm like, well, I don't really know. Well, I don't really know what to tell you to do then because I don't know what we're trying to accomplish. It's kind of like a seller, that wants to sell. Okay, well, why do you want to sell? Until I know why they want to sell, then I have no idea how to help them because I don't know what we're really trying to do here. You know what I mean? It all comes back to what are you trying to accomplish so that then I can figure out what it is that we should be doing to accomplish that. Yeah, I think everyone should have something long term. When I got in business, my thing was I just wanted to make $1 million a year. That was kind of the big vision, the big goal, and so I just worked. It was actually 14 my 14th year in the business was the year that I hit that. And, it was 14 years. That was a long, long, long time, but I wasn't going to give up. I wasn't going to quit. I wasn't going to lay down. I was going to keep trying to figure it out, falling on my face, until I got there. But yeah, having a big goal, not like this year, but like, what do you want your life to look like in 5 years type thing? I think that that's super important.
Yeah, I agree. So what's the big goal? Where are we going to see you in 5 years?
Well, like I say, my goal is to build $1 billion companies, so any day now, we're launching a mortgage brokerage. We'll be in 3 states. We'll eventually be all, nationwide within 2 years or so. But that's kind of the beginnings of something that's going to be, possibly incredibly massive. And this is a really incredible time to start a mortgage brokerage, since how we're basically at the bottom of the mortgage meltdown here. What's happened over the past 12 months. And so we're really excited about that. But building businesses, I think you'll see me on really big stages, doing some cool things on some really big stages and building some really massive businesses.
I can't wait to see that. And thank you so much for taking your time to sit with me today. It's been a pleasure getting to know you and getting to pick your brain one-on-one. So for everyone watching at home, Ricky answers his messages, his own DMs, and he's really quick. I have less than like 0.01% of his followers, and I take more time. It stresses me out answering my DMs. So DM him, try to take in what he's saying and apply it to your business, because I promise if you do that, you'll be one of those billion-dollar businesses that he's helping build up soon. Thank you so much for your time, Ricky.
Absolutely. My pleasure, man. Good hanging out with you for a bit.
Thank you. And remember, everyone, change begins at home.